Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blyville Podcast, Global Connections with eSIM Card. Today, we will guide you through international eSIMs and Hotspots, a complete...
Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, picture this. You're traveling, you're overseas, you've got your phone sorted with an international eSIM. Great. But now you need to get your tablet online, or maybe your laptop.
Right. How do you share that connection?
Exactly. Seems simple, doesn't it? Just, flip on the hotspot. But the source material we're looking at today, it shows it's really not always that easy. We're diving into an article today. It's from the Blyville blog, published June 7th, 2025, and the title is pretty direct: International eSIMs and Hotspots, everything you need to know about tethering and data sharing.
Yeah. And
it really promises to break down why this thing that feels like it should be standard can actually lead to some real headaches for travelers.
Yeah, that's spot on. Our goal here really is to unpack what this article is telling us. We want to understand how using your phone as a hotspot with an international eSIM, how it should work. But maybe more importantly, why it often, doesn't.
Yeah.
Or doesn't work the way you expect. Because if you understand the why, you can hopefully avoid those unpleasant surprises next time you travel.
Definitely. And the big takeaway right from the start, according to this source, the kind of core surprise, it's that using your hotspot with that international eSIM, it's just not guaranteed.
Not at all.
It depends on things that, frankly, most travelers probably don't even think to check. Okay, let's really get into this.
Let's do it.
So maybe starting with the basics the article lays out, we're talking about sharing your phone's internet. What are the actual terms here? Is hotspot the same as tethering, or...
Good question. They're related, but not quite the same, and the article clarifies this pretty well. Think of tethering as the big umbrella term.
Okay.
It just means using your phone any way, really, to share its internet connection with another device. Hotspot specifically is just the most common way people do that tethering.
Yeah.
So the hotspot function, that's when your phone basically turns into a little portable Wi-Fi router. It creates its own Wi-Fi network, and then your laptop or your tablet can connect to that wirelessly.
Like connecting to Wi-Fi in a coffee shop, but it's coming from your phone.
Exactly. Super useful when there's no other Wi-Fi around, obviously.
Got it. So hotspot is the Wi-Fi flavor of tethering. And when the article mentions eSIM tethering, that just means the actual plan you bought on that virtual SIM allows any kind of sharing, whether it's Wi-Fi hotspot or like using a USB cable or even Bluetooth.
Precisely. It means the capability is supposedly built into the eSIM plan itself. But, and this is the core problem the article highlights, the big challenge, the thing causing all those travel headaches, is that so many people buy an international eSIM, they assume they can just turn on the hotspot, and then, poof, nothing happens.
Or it works, but it's like incredibly slow or cuts out.
Exactly. That's what this source calls that unpleasant surprise.
Yeah. And nobody wants that, especially when you're, trying to navigate somewhere unfamiliar or book something urgent. So the article gets into why this happens. It's not just one thing, I guess.
No, not usually. The source points to a couple of main reasons. The first one is, well, maybe the more obvious one, device compatibility.
Your phone itself.
Right. Some phones, especially older models, might just not have the right hardware or software to handle eSIM tethering effectively. It's a technical limitation of the phone. So that's the first check.
Okay, that makes sense. The technology itself has to be capable. But the article seems to suggest that's often not the main hurdle people face.
Correct. It says the most critical factor, the thing that trips people up most often, is actually restrictions put in place by the eSIM providers themselves on the plan.
Ah, so it's the company selling the eSIM service.
Yes. And this is where the article says it gets, quote, really interesting. Because apparently many international eSIM providers put these specific limits on hotspot use. But, and this is the kicker, they often don't make it clear.
They don't tell you up front.
Not clearly, no. Or it's buried in the fine print somewhere. That lack of transparency is identified as a major issue.
Wow. Okay, so that sounds like a big problem.
Yeah.
How does the article break down how these providers actually handle it then? Are there different approaches?
It does break it down, yeah. It basically groups them. First, you have providers with really strict limitations.
Like what? What kind of limits?
Well, they might impose a completely separate, much lower daily data cap, only for tethered data. Or maybe they only allow one single device to connect via hotspot at a time.
Only one. That's tough if you have a laptop and a tablet.
Right. Or they might drastically cut your internet speed the moment you activate the hotspot. Some might even block the hotspot function completely in certain countries, even if the eSIM itself works fine there for regular data on your phone.
Man, that's, really restrictive and almost impossible to plan for if you don't know about it beforehand.
Exactly. Then the source talks about the non-transparent providers. This seems to be a pretty big group.
And they just don't say.
Pretty much. They just don't give you clear info up front. So you buy the plan, and you have basically no idea if hotspot is even supported or if there are hidden costs or speed limits or cap on connected devices. You basically only find out when you try to use it.
Which is often exactly when you really need it to work.
Precisely. It's a recipe for frustration.
So are there any providers doing it right, according to the article? Any good guys?
Yes, thankfully. The source does mention transparent providers. It uses Bill-Lavelle as an example here, saying that this type of provider clearly communicates that their SIMs and eSIMs do support hotspot. And importantly, they support it without artificial limits.
Okay, without artificial limits, what does that actually mean in practice? Because it's still going to use up your data plan, right? It's not free data.
Oh, absolutely. It's not unlimited data. What without artificial limits means, according to the source, is that the provider isn't putting extra technical blocks or specific restrictions on the hotspot feature itself. The limits you do hit are the natural ones, like physics. The total speed of your data plan gets shared across all connected devices. So, connect more devices, and each one gets a smaller slice of the speed pie.
Makes sense. Slower for everyone.
Right. And the other natural limit is just your data allowance. Every connected device pulls data from your plan, and laptops and tablets often use data way faster than just your phone browsing, so you'll burn through your gigabytes quicker.
So it's limited by your plan speed and data cap, not by some extra rule the provider made up just for hotspots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the distinction the article makes for transparent providers.
Okay, so understanding why it can be tricky, that points us towards solutions. Does the article give practical advice? Stuff you can do before you travel to avoid that unpleasant surprise?
It does, yeah. It gives a pretty solid checklist. First, things to check on your phone itself.
Right, the device compatibility we mentioned.
Yep. First, just confirm your phone actually supports eSIMs generally. That's step 0. Then, and this is a smart tip from the source test the hotspot feature, using your regular home SIM card or plan before you leave.
Oh, just to make sure the function works on the phone at all.
Exactly. It confirms your phone's hardware and software can do it, taking that variable out of the equation when you're abroad with the international eSIM. The source also mentions checking your home carrier settings for any tethering blocks, but that's maybe less likely to affect the international eSIM specifically. Still, good to check.
Testing at home first. Simple, but makes a lot of sense. Okay, what about the eSIM plan itself? The article mentioned providers aren't always clear, so are there specific questions we should be asking them before we buy?
Absolutely crucial, according to the source. You need to go in armed with questions. Like, is hotspot definitely supported on this specific plan I'm looking at?
Okay.
Are there limits on how many devices I can connect simultaneously? Are there any speed restrictions, specifically when I'm tethering? Does my speed get throttled? Will I be charged anything extra just for using the hotspot feature? Yeah. Any hidden fills?
Right.
And maybe critically, are there any specific countries covered by the plan where the hotspot might not work, even if the eSIM itself provides data there?
Wow, that's a comprehensive list. Getting clear yes or no answers to those seems key.
Totally. The source really emphasizes getting that clarity up front.
Okay, so let's say you do your homework. You find an eSIM that does support hotspotting clearly. Does the article have tips for actually using it effectively while you're traveling, optimizing it?
It does. It talks about intelligent data management, which basically means keep a close eye on how much data all those connected devices are chewing through.
Because it adds up fast.
Really fast. So set data usage alerts on your phone if you can. Maybe use monitoring apps. Just be aware of background data usage on laptops especially.
Good point. What else?
Performance optimization. Simple stuff, really.
Yeah.
Limit the number of devices connected at the same time. Trying to run 5 things off your phone's hotspot might just make everything unusably slow.
Yeah, probably better to connect just what you need.
Exactly. Disconnect devices when you're not actively using them. And try to avoid really data-heavy tasks like streaming HD movies or downloading huge files on the connected devices if you can help it. Save that for a solid Wi-Fi connection if possible.
Right, preserve that mobile data allowance. Makes sense. Okay, but what if? What if you do all the checks and the eSIM you want or need just doesn't support Hotspot? Or the limits are just too strict for what you need to do? Does the article suggest any alternatives?
It mentions a couple of things. One option is to look into getting a dedicated portable Wi-Fi router, sometimes called a MiFi device.
Oh, like a separate little box?
Yeah. These gadgets are built specifically to create a hotspot for multiple devices. And some of the newer models actually support eSIMs themselves now. So you could put your international data plan directly onto the router device.
Ah, so your phone isn't doing the heavy lifting of being the router. Interesting.
Exactly. And the source also brings up another idea, which sounds a bit counterintuitive at first.
Oh.
It suggests that in some situations, depending on data costs and your needs, it might actually be cheaper to buy multiple international eSIMs, like one for your phone and a separate, maybe smaller data plan eSIM for your tablet.
Instead of relying on one plan shared via a restricted hotspot.
Right. You'd have to compare the costs, obviously. But the article suggests it's an option worth considering, especially if the hotspot limitations are really severe or costly on a single plan.
Huh. That's a creative workaround I wouldn't have thought of. Okay, looking forward then, does the article offer any sense of whether this whole situation might get better? Is the eSIM market, maturing?
Yeah, that's the feeling the source conveys. It suggests the market is evolving. Providers are hopefully starting to realize just how much travelers value having a reliable hotspot function.
So more transparency, maybe?
That's the prediction. Yeah. The source expects we'll see greater transparency from more providers about their tethering policies, possibly even seeing plans designed specifically for people who need to tether a lot, like business travelers.
Dedicated tethering plans? Interesting.
Yeah. And just overall improvements in the underlying network tech that makes sharing data smoother and more reliable on the go.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, the big picture seems to be using your international eSIM for a hotspot. It can be fantastic, super convenient for keeping everything connected without hunting for dodgy public Wi-Fi.
Absolutely. But,
and it's a huge but, it's definitely not something you can just assume will work perfectly out of the box.
No. The article's core message really boils down to doing your homework. Preparation. The difference between smooth sailing and connection chaos often comes down to the research you do before you buy that eSIM.
So check your phone first.
Check the phone, yes.
Yeah.
Then really dig into the specific plan details from the provider about hotspot limits, costs, supported countries for tethering. Ask those questions.
And have a backup plan, maybe?
Hey, maybe have a backup plan, yeah. Because as the source makes clear, not all plans, and crucially, not all providers, treat tethering the same way.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Travel smart, travel connected, but most importantly, travel informed. That seems to be the key takeaway from this source. Which does raise an interesting question, doesn't it? Given how varied the transparency is, as this article highlights, how much responsibility do you think lies with the providers to be crystal clear about hotspotting versus how much is on us, the travelers, to dig through all the details?
Something to think about.
That's certainly something to mull over as this eSIM technology keeps changing how we connect around the world.
We have reached the end of our episode on international eSIMs and hotspots, a complete guide. I hope it was useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and visit bliveil.com for more tips and solutions. Thanks for listening and see you next time.